Good evening to you. We are joining you from Studio 3 in Newsfirst Center with regard to the Constitution. Now, the need for a new Constitution has been debated, has been discussed very heavily in the past, but at the present time frame, we do not know what is happening to this new Constitution that everyone was talking about. We are going to talk to Mr. Faraz Shaukat Ali, who is here with me in the studio. Faraz, at the outset, let's go back in history a bit. Let's try to understand how this need for or the requirement for the Constitution came to be.
Well, good evening. We have to cast our minds back to 1977 when we had the presidential type of constitution, and that came to be in 1977. Since then, 40 years later, the country has been governed by a what is can be best described as a patchwork constitution.
Why do you say so?
Well, the patchwork, because since 1977 till 2018, we've had total of 19 amendments to the Constitution. Clearly, these amendments were caused because of a need to fine-tune the Constitution every now and then, resulting in, by 2018, we had 19 amendments to the Constitution. And I think it's fair to say that all parties were committed to having a proper Constitution in which there was very little or no ambiguity as far as possible. And therefore, the decision was taken to try and have a new Constitution rather than continuously making amendments.
First, with what you said, by January of 2016, it was the process of creating this new Constitution was underway.
Well, the agreement was, they spoke about it, and certainly by January 2016, the process started. And it's on the 7th of April, we had the first meeting was held, by the 5th of April, the Parliamentary Constitutional Council was held under the chair of the Prime Minister and a 21-member, what was called a steering committee. By this time, of course, the entire Parliament had been declared as a National Assembly, a constitutional assembly, so that they could all get together and create this new Constitution. In the meantime as well, 2016 was quite a busy time for the making of the new Constitution. We had various committees appointed and so on, including a committee to test the public reaction and the public opinion on a new Constitution. That committee was headed by Lal Vijayanayake, and by the time that happened, we had the attention of the public. It made headlines, it grabbed the public's attention for a few days. And also, by May 2016, we had the subcommittee reports were out. But before that, also, I need to say that we had a management, best known, I suppose, as a management sort of committee, which was headed by, it had co-chairs. Dr. Jayampati Wickramaratne and Mr. M.A. Sumandiran were the co-chairs. The other members of that committee were Neil Iddawala, Abdul Naufur Rahman, and President's Counsel Bemba Tilakaratne. Now, it's just to also mention that Abdul Naufur Rahman was then at one time the secretary to the leader of the opposition when the leader of the opposition was Ranil Wickremesinghe, and Abdul Naufur Rahman is now the secretary to the leader of the House.
And Faraz, with all of this happening now, you explained to us how this came to be. Another expert committee was also going hand in hand with when this was happening. An
Indeed.
Expert committee, I think it was called a committee comprising intellectuals.
That's right. And also by so like I said, 2016 was a very busy time for this, and by 21st of September 2017, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe submitted a comprehensive report on the progress of the need for the new constitution, including, of course, the reports of the subcommittees. So thereafter, we had a consultative process with the people and so on. But after the appointment of the expert committee, I'm afraid that the progress suddenly, the steam went out the window, and there has been no progress since then. In the meantime, we have also little bits of detail have emerged, and amongst the details is that, for example, the UNDP had paid salaries of various members in these subcommittees.
I have here a document for us which shows a contract of such a employee of the United Nations Development Program who has been paid, and you can see the signature of the UNDP head also in this document. So it goes along with what you are saying. But for us, my question to you is, now when you take a look at all of these instances, now we are taking a look at the constitution of a country, the constitution of our country. When you come to that situation, do you need foreign powers to be involved? Do you need institutions like, can't we make our own constitution for us?
Absolutely not. We do not need any form of foreign advice, counseling, or anything of the sort. The constitution governs our country, our people, and the people of our country are supreme. They have vested their powers, given it to their various members of parliament, and it is to them that this contract, that this trust was placed, so that we can have a constitution that was clear, that had little or zero ambiguity, and therefore doing away with this constant need for the president and all sorts of people to petition the Supreme Court for their opinion, for their interpretation, and so on. This has happened several times over the last 40 years. And when we found out that the UNDP had been paying salaries of some of these people on these subcommittees or these committees, that indicates to us that there has been an erosion of the independence of that process. And that is bad news for our country, because this is our constitution. And honestly, if we want to take examples from other countries, we can do that. But we don't need people to be paid by other countries, because once you do that, you completely take away the independence and the integrity of those committees.
Now, for us, initially you mentioned that the requirement or the request for a new constitution came unanimously throughout all the parties. The general public also spoke about it. You said it made headlines. Now, people like the names you mentioned, Dr. Jayampathy Wickramaratne and M.S. Sumandiran, TNA parliamentarian, they were also front runners of formulating the 19th Amendment to the Constitution.
Absolutely.
At present, what we are remaining with, or what we are left with rather, is the 19th Amendment to the Constitution and not a new Constitution at all.
Absolutely. We seem to have wasted a lot of time and lost the initial sort of spur that we had to have a new Constitution. And after the expert committee, well, there has been no progress. In fact, we have it on record from Dr. Jayampathy Wickramaratne, who now states that after January 2019, no meetings, no progress, and it is now at a standstill. And what are we left with? We're left with the 19th Amendment. And why, you may ask me, why did the 19th Amendment come about? Well, the 18th Amendment came about because President Rajapaksa wanted to have a go for another term. He wanted to do away with the two-term limit. And so he passed the 18th Amendment. The 19th Amendment came to being because they wanted to reduce the powers of the president, including, of course, the powers to return to the two-term limit for the presidency. And also, we ended up with, in effect, because of the reduction in the powers of the president to call to prorogue parliament and so on, that was given for after only 4.5 years. Previously, it was after 1 year the president could do it. So, in effect, we were stuck with a with a fixed term parliament. And that is all we have to say. That's what we've ended up with. Not a new constitution. The members have voted themselves perks, cars, homes, foreign trips, salaries, and so on. But they've missed the whole point, that they have failed the nation, they have failed the people to deliver this new constitution that the people gave them the mandate to do.